This narrative starts with Chenika marrying a complete stranger, but let's travel back in time an hour to see how she got to be in this situation. She is the CEO of a jewelry firm, but her fiancé vanishes on the day of their wedding. She has an odd illness, and when her heart rate spikes to 100, she passes out and is comatose for 48 hours. Her heart rate spikes in desperation, a boy happens to pull her up, and his heart rate drops as soon as he touches her. When she returns to the present, she is envious and yanks off the stranger's mask after showing him the rings her elder brother made, but she kisses him to hide her face. The youngster then cleans his mouth. She tells him he should feel blessed to obtain a kiss and offers him money in exchange for his assistance. However, he remained unhappy, so the assistant led him into the darkness. She observes that her frequency stays constant and recalls that it decreased when she first saw the lad and further decreased after she gave him a kiss. After receiving unfavorable news from her employer, she decides to start looking for the boy. As we see her walk into a flower store, she begs him to give her a kiss. But when he declines, she gives up and collapses into his arms, decreasing her frequency. Now that she's feeling better, she asks the youngster, Chenyu, to help her and keep him near, but he declines once again since he prefers to look after his plants. She attempts, as a last option, to bribe him with large sums of money, but he rejects and shows no interest. Her father calls her that same evening, requesting to see her fiancé. Her frequency increases once more. He gets a request somewhere else, and when he gets there, we find that she made it. Unexpectedly, she throws herself into his arms and kisses him. She therefore recuperates once again, after which he vehemently chastises her for her behavior and departs. When she approaches him for a conversation in the morning, he offers to oversee her company's decor, and they will conclude their agreement. Furthermore, she was aware that he was impoverished and that he slept in the flower store, so she had little choice but to accept. I want to thank the following individuals in particular for their support of the channel and for viewing the videos before we move on. Let's go on now. When he brings him a very nice plant in the morning and begins decorating the offices, the staff members begin chatting among themselves. His co-workers greet him warmly that evening, but he is unaccustomed to it and soon becomes inebriated. Taken to her flat since she had nowhere else to go, she slides as she puts him down, kissing him fiercely. She headed to her room, nervous. He had already departed in the morning, but he left her various gifts as a token of appreciation, which makes her extremely pleased. Subsequently, at a meeting to organize the occasion, her brother confronts her husband in public, raising concerns and increasing his anxiety levels. He specifically comes up to her with a cake, and she seizes the chance to touch him. As a result, she becomes less frequent and informs everyone that her spouse is abroad. After that, she makes an effort to find her missing fiancé and sends him a note. The main character hears this and attempts to cheer her up so she won't be depressed. Taking advantage of the circumstance, she gives him a hug and tells him it helps her feel better. He becomes anxious, though, and tells her that she is a married lady. After having dinner with her family in the evening, her brother uses the occasion to imply that the wedding was a sham, and she hesitantly makes the decision to depart. We see that he had a cold, and as a result, his frequency increases and his age shows up with medication. Then, he faints after being surprised to see a lady in the shadows. He awakens up and breaks up her attempt at a kiss. He tells her on the inside that he knows she's upset about her fiancé, but she just can't stop kissing him. She constantly admits to him that the wedding was staged in order to promote the business, and that fucking, her purported fiancé is actually her closest friend from childhood. Startled, he asks her why, despite her constant need for touch, she would rather keep her condition a secret from him. He goes with her to a meeting in the morning where she signs a contract to be the model for his jewelry with her brother and a significant model. When he sees how heartbroken she is, her envious brother regrets tripping her up. She works late hours at night. With concern, he offers her some food, which he tenderly puts in her mouth. In an attempt to stop thinking about her, he starts to develop love for her and waters her plants. He was thrilled that she had given him a lovely meal in the morning, but he was dismayed to learn that she had prepared food for everyone when he walked outside. To make him envious, the following day she shows up in a miniskirt. She even forbids him from holding her hand and covers for him when a client attempts to see her. The cleaning woman moves everything, but this time she chooses to offer him a detail and leaves a thermos with a message on his desk. He only discovers the thermos, which he maintains because the assistant finds it appealing. She is upset, nevertheless, assuming that the protagonist did not appreciate her present when she sees him holding the thermos. He sets up the space for the upcoming function the next day, and she observes him from a distance. Later, they cross paths on the patio and exchange pleasantries as usual. When he speaks with his assistant in the afternoon, she is taken aback because he has been off for several days and she inquires about his frequency. Afterwards, her brother attempts to make amends for his transgressions and presents her a pair of shoes for the occasion. She visits a store to buy a matching dress. He searches for a jacket in the meanwhile, and although she is shocked when she tries it on, he chooses to give it up as it is too pricey. She buys it despite refusing. He informs her, irritated, that he doesn't want her money, and she begs him to invite her home for supper in exchange. She informs him that she would admit that her marriage is a lie at the occasion while he cooks her a lovely lunch. When the day finally comes, she was prepared to tell the truth in front of the press. However, she becomes tense when she sees her father and is unable to speak. Regretfully, her contract expires the next day, and they are both rather upset about it because they will no longer be seeing each other every day. He is happy that she did, and she goes on to explain her fictitious marriage in a news conference. He heads out to find her right away, and without any delay, he asks her to be his girlfriend, which she happily agrees. After that, he makes a delectable meal, and they share stories about their life before sharing a passionate kiss to close the evening. She wakes up the following day with a smile on her face and an improved frequency. She then makes the decision to make her boyfriend breakfast, but before she gets to the flower store, a girl grabs him by the hand and says that she wounded herself and was trying to help him. Once everything was in order, they tried the dinner, which was excellent. They then spend the entire day together, going for walks and playing and having fun on the beach. They visit her place in the evening, and she departs to take a shower. She asks him to hand her the towel a few minutes later, but he becomes agitated and leaves it at the door before fleeing. The next day, she informs her assistant that she attempted to woo her lover, but he fled, and they decide together how to get rid of him. Then, after writing to him, she expresses her sadness. He rushes over, worried, and she persuades him to stay with her. And just when everything was prepared, they are interrupted by a phone call. Then a report about his firm goes viral on the news. Her frequency rises quickly as a result, and she utilizes all of her remaining power to go visit him before passing out. He dials his assistant in a state of despair. She just informs him that she would be asleep for 48 hours and that he has to take care of her. She doesn't tell him about her condition. The board names her brother director in her absence, but he is unhappy when he learns he has a lot of work ahead of him. He tenderly tends to her for those 2 days in the meantime. Then, out of nowhere, Fuchin shows up, and they look at one another. She wakes up abruptly and bemoans his disappearance. As usual, he tells her he would sleep at her apartment and shows her a video in which he takes responsibility for the viral story. This causes our heroine to get envious, but she kicks him out and chooses to stay to look after her, which makes her extremely pleased. She goes to the board in the morning, and her brother, who is overworked, appoints her as director again. Then, after Fuchin pays them a visit to discuss business, a misunderstanding leads to dinner for the three of them. However, our protagonist spends their first night together since he does not want to go from her. She surprises him with a delectable breakfast in the morning and shows him a few jewelry designs she had created, all of which were inspired by flowers and plants. She brings it up in front of the board since she thought it was good, and everyone agrees, making Fuchin envious. After that, he speaks with his assistant and promises to reveal to the protagonist the truth about his sickness. Fuchin overhears this, but they are unaware of it. He then approaches the main character and informs him of his girlfriend's condition, accusing her of being a manipulator. Though he doesn't think she's lying, he can't help but go back to all the weird times she touched or kissed him. It saddens him to know that Fuchin is correct. That evening, he makes the decision to face her. She tells him that although she first intended to use him, staying by his side caused him to fall in love. Feeling bewildered, he chooses not to take her word for it and ends their relationship. When she wears glasses and shows up at work in the morning, everyone rumors that she broke up with her boyfriend. During the family meal that evening, her father makes an attempt to set her up for marriage. This time, her brother defends her, and they end up battling with her father. She is so tired that she accidentally throws out a lighted candle. She is drowning as she wakes up, and her heart rate spikes. Fuchin shows there at that exact moment, and the protagonist finds her unconscious. She wakes up when he asks to kiss her out of concern. As he gets a better look at her, he informs her that it was only for her shovel and walks away. Fuchin tells him she loves him when they are outdoors since he went before her to reveal the truth about her condition, and she was about to confess the truth. After he makes the decision to speak with her, they are able to ultimately resolve their issues and reduce their frequency to 20. She gets an unexpected visit in the morning. Her father is the one who appears, startled to see her with him. She seizes the chance to come clean about their connection, but he rejects it, chastises her, and retreats in frustration. His frequency increases as a result, and he gives her a tender embrace to make things normal. The brother then uses the business party as an occasion to counsel the protagonist since he wants to see his sister happy. In the meantime, she and her helper also become inebriated. After that, he drives her home. puts her to bed, and plants a tender goodnight kiss on her forehead. The next day, she searches for her new brother-in-law and enlists his assistance in her attempt to persuade her father to approve of their relationship. Her father, brother, friend, and the entire office staff surprise her that evening. Her brother praises her for putting up with her brattishness, her father tells her he is proud of everything she has done, and her friend promises to always be there for her. Her father then reaffirms to her that he only wants to see her happy and that he loves her with all of his heart. He therefore acknowledges her new partnership. She rushes out to find the main character, excited. He gets ready to give her a surprise when she gets there. He tells her, shaking with nerves, that he wants to spend the rest of his life with her, and he gets down on one knee to propose. She accepts with great happiness, and they sign their love covenant by kissing passionately, decreasing their zero frequency for the first time and bringing this lovely narrative to a conclusion.